What's good, my peoples? Your boy, Big Chris, Compton Animator. My team, Raiders, won today. Go Oakland Raiders. Let's get that in frame. Y'all gotta see that shit. That's a good team right there. We're gonna try to make it this year, dude. You know, we having a lot of issues, but we're gonna get there. But that's not what we're here to talk about, you know. We're not here to talk about how the Raiders just, whooped the Chargers' ass. But, what we are here to talk about is that WWE had a pay-per-view today. WWE Battlegrounds. And it was held October 6, 2013. Starting off with this, we can talk about the build up to the pay-per-view. I would say this is probably the third poorest pay-per-view build up this year, especially coming down to the fact that we only had about 3 weeks to build this pay-per-view, going off of Night of Champions, which is not really that much time at all. A good pay-per-view build, I say, needs at least 5 weeks to 4. A week to get over what happened in the last pay-per-view. 2 weeks to you need 2 weeks to gain storyline, get storyline moving and stuff like that, and then a week for the go home stuff. And if you can get 5 weeks, to me, it's even better. But with 3 weeks, you can tell right here a lot didn't happen. Plus, with the WWE not booking this pay-per-view the right way, you also ended up getting things that didn't work out too well. There were some stuff that was built up pretty nicely. You have, I think, the 2 best things that had the best build for this pay-per-view was the CM Punk versus Ryback match, which you had everything that was going on after the Night of Champions, with Ryback coming and spearing CM Punk through a table and making Paul Heyman cover CM Punk to get the win at Night of Champions. But you also had the whole thing with Paul Heyman now falling in love with Ryback as a new Paul Heyman guy, even proposing to him at a point in time in this build up. And then having CM Punk come out and just say I'm pissed and I'm gonna get my revenge no matter what. So you had that. Then you also had the whole Cody Rhodes and his Rhodes Dynasty versus the McMahon and Helmsley regime. And that was a pretty good build up right there. You had everything that Cody Rhodes, Goldust, and what's his name? The American Dream. I remember the American Dream was doing to go against the Triple H and Stephanie. And then also putting the Shield in the mix there was pretty nicely done as well. Not a great build up to the next thing, but the Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton situation with Stephanie and what's his name? Stephanie and Triple H, going against Daniel Bryan. It was fumbled at a few points, but I say by the end, the end of that built it up okay. But that's only 3 things out of usually 8 matches of the pay-per-view. So, there was not really anything there. The Diva stuff wasn't pretty built up at all. They switched it up halfway through. You never got any tag team stuff. You got the Contenders, and they had to do something else with the stuff. Everything else was very last minute, even being some matches built up the night before the pay-per-view. The actual, in the middle of the night, you saw the WWE post saying, okay, yeah, we set this match up for the pay-per-view at midnight and stuff. So, a pretty poor build-up, to say the least. The first thing of the night started off with, getting into the whole Battlegrounds pay-per-view. The first thing we started off with was Dolph Ziggler. Well, it was the kickoff show with Dolph Ziggler and Damian Sandow. Dolph Ziggler being the former Money in the Bank title, Money in the Bank briefcase holder, and Damian Sandow being the current Money in the Bank briefcase holder for the World Championship. Pretty okay match. I didn't really get interested into this match towards the end when Damian Sandow had took off his knee brace, and he started kicking or kneeing Dolph Ziggler, but towards the end he ends up hurting his knee, and Dolph Ziggler takes advantage of it, kicking a knee and then hitting his zigzag on him, and Dolph Ziggler ends up winning here, and Damian Sandow ends up having a slight knee injury. So a pretty okay match. It would have been way better if there was some story there with it, but without anything, sorry about that. Without anything, it was just whatever. Next we had Alberto Del Rio versus Rob Van Dam for the World Heavyweight Championship. And this was a Battlegrounds Hardcore Rules match. This was actually a pretty nice match. We had a lot of good spots here. You had a great veteran in Rob Van Dam who used, the weapons right, and he brought everything in, made sure the whole ring plus the outside of ring was used right, and, making sure the match, flowed with an okay pace. I do think that they slowed down way too much in here, and it wasn't hard hitting enough, but for what they did, it was pretty okay. Del Rio, they haven't been giving him good stories lately, but the dude comes out and he puts on phenomenal matches. Not phenomenal, but pretty phenomenal to pretty chill matches at these pay-per-views. The last one with Christian was phenomenal. This one was just pretty okay. But Del Rio ends up coming up with the win after a few slight mistakes by Alberto Del Rio and that ring announcer that he has, Ricardo Rodriguez. So it's a pretty okay match. Next we had Great Khali and Santino Marella versus Jack Swagger and Antonio Cesaro, the Real Americans. This was a okay match. Most of the match was Jack Swagger and Cesaro beating up on Santino, and Santino doing his comedy bits. You couldn't really do anything with the Great Khali, so he's basically a corner guy. This is basically a match for spots. You had the spot where, what's his name, the little guy, Hornswoggle, tried to come in and do a mini Cobra on Jack Swagger and outside of the ring, and Jack Swagger tried to tear up the Cobra, and he just threw it instead of tearing it up. Another spot was Cesaro. Oh, okay. This is probably the thing that sold the match for me, in that made it an okay match towards the end. Was Cesaro ends up doing a big swing on the Great Khali. So picking up this 7 foot tall, 300 to 400 plus pound guy, and swinging them and spinning them around the ring. That was pretty phenomenal. The Real Americans came up with the win here. So what you might hear most about this pay-per-view is that the spots were good, but some of the matches was just ended up okay. So yeah, that was a pretty good spot right there, and I'm wondering what they're going to do with the Real Americans, because they're a tag team that's building. I think Cesaro finally found something that is working for him, not only as far as character-wise, but in ring-wise, he's finding move sets that are working and stuff that are getting crowd, to hype up and also give heat to him. So that's what that is, and we just have to see and go on beyond that. The next match was Curtis Axel versus R-Truth. R-Truth was okay in this match, and let me say this. Before, this is another match that had just like the previous one, that had no build up at all. This was the one that had very little to no build up. The only thing that made me even interested in this match was a video that WWE posted on their YouTube channel that talks about how R-Truth hasn't, really had any progress ever since his last, run for any titles. So, that was the only thing that made me interested, and that was something they put up on YouTube and didn't even show on the show. So, besides me, how many else people is going to be interested in this match? So, and then you could tell by a couple of things that happened during it. The match it was an okay match. You know, the moves were nice, the pacing was fine. The biggest problems of the match, though, was sorry about that. The biggest problems of the match, though, was basically that the crowd wasn't into it at all. They were chanting JBL and all type of other stuff. The crowd never got into this match. R-Truth is an okay face, but you know, there's not a lot to him that, unless he's going against a good heel, that, you know, can happen. Plus, he wasn't doing his usual, you know, what chance during the match and stuff, and people weren't just popping with him. And Curtis Axel just doesn't draw heat at all. He got Paul Heyman on his side. It's just that the dude is boring as a character. And, you know, with all the stuff that's happening between CM Punk and, you know, just the Miz that he was going through, the dude never was able to draw any heat. So, R-Truth came up with the loss, and Curtis Axel won this match. It was whatever. You know, the match was below average to me because they did nothing to keep the crowd in it. Next we had the Divas Championship match. Brie Bella versus champion AJ Lee. I would say this match was better than the last because even though that the moves weren't as good as the last, but you had a little bit more story to this one than you did the last one. This was the one where Brie Bella ends up going against AJ instead of Natalya for whatever the reason that the WWE decides. But here what we got was AJ Lee dominating through most of the match with Brie Bella doing a couple of moves here and there. This is something because this is one of the first times, not first times, but you know, one of the times you actually get to see whether or not these divas can actually wrestle or not, because the pay-per-views, they actually give them some time to wrestle. Brie Bella, what I saw that she can do is she can do a basic moveset. She can do a basic level John Cena type moveset, you know, drop kicks, rest holds, elbow, you know, just regular elbow drops, running knees, you know, not even a jump running knee, but you know, somebody's on a rope, down on a rope, and they just run and punch their knee into the face while the person is sitting on the rope. Arm bars and stuff like that. It's not a lot to Brie Bella's move game and not a lot to what she's doing. You can tell AJ had to basically work with her through this match, and they didn't even end up using her Black Widow at the end of the match, because I don't even know if Brie Bella can hold up AJ on her own. But another thing about this match, like I said, spots. The most important thing about this match was the end spot where the girl who came out with AJ, Tamina, ends up putting Nikki Bella into a chokehold on the outside, and it distracts Brie Bella, and AJ ends up rolling Brie up while she's distracted and gets the win. So while I say the match was okay for a Divas match, the ending was a lot better. The ending actually gives something for story-wise, and you know, we may get more with the Bellas, who cares, but you know, at least hopefully this brings more story out. And having Tamina with AJ also means that, you know, her bodyguard can help instead of the other bodyguards that she had were men who couldn't really do anything. So, you know, this helps the story out more, and hopefully with the next match they can get more groove and have a better match. I still like the fact that AJ won here because I would hate to see that title of Brie Bella. Backstage, after the match, they had a really good promo with the Rhodes family, the Rhodes Dynasty, and oh my god, you know, Dusty, what's his name? Dusty Rhodes was, you know, giving a nice little talk, and then Goldust, who was wearing this like Darth Maul type of paint that he, you know, not just his usual, you know, it was gold and black, but it was painted like he was Darth Maul. But yeah, it was a really good paint job, and you know, really good promo by all three members of the Rhodes family, and you know, that's some real. You can tell they're a real dynasty because they can cut promos together, they can put up good matches, And that's something that you don't see in a lot of heritage in the WWE. These three are really good, and I hope we see more of them. And that led into the match with the Rhodes family versus the Shield 2-on-2 match. And this was a really nice match. Not great as far as in phenomenal moves done or just shocking or anything like that. It told this what was great about this match was it told story. It played out nice. It had a good pace, and they used everything that was available to them. It wasn't the phenomenal ring match that we probably wanted to see, but it was good enough. And also the story was phenomenal stuff that we wanted to see. So that kind of made up for a lot. A lot of good moves here. Dusty doing his bionic elbow on Dean Ambrose on the outside. Cody Rhodes does the backwards moonsault onto Seth Rollins, I think it was, and then Goldust ends up doing a backwards what do you call that? Crossbody splash onto Roman Reigns, I think. So, or one of those two. But Rhodes family ends up winning, and with Cody Rhodes doing a crossroads, and this was a really good match, man. Probably match of the night. We'll see if it is after we talk about the next few matches. But yeah, it was probably match of the night. And they end up going up to the stage after the match and hugging and stuff. And some wrestlers come out and they all congratulate them and stuff. And this was probably the best thing of the night. And I'm happy to see how they built the Rhodes up, especially Cody Rhodes. And I think this right here is what's going to push him to main event. This right here, had the whole crowd pop. I think I was fine. The whole time I've always said they need to, for Cody Rhodes to go up, he needs to use his family. So, this right here is exactly what I wanted to see. And, that's what I want. And that's what I think is very good. After that, we got Brad Maddox in the back, and he was telling us that Triple H and Stephanie weren't there. They had to leave early, and he knew that they were going to be mad because of the Rhodes winning. So him and Vicky was talking, and Vicky said, "This is up to you," and she just said, "Ha ha ha ha, this is your fault." And he said he needs to find something to do to make up for this. So we'll get into that later on. Oh, this was gonna be a long review, fuck. But the next match was Kofi Kingston versus Bray Wyatt. I like the Wyatt family, so and I like Kofi Kingston too. So what should be a good match, and it was a pretty okay match. The moveset and the in-ring stuff was pretty okay. It was a little bit above average. It wasn't just the average in-ring stuff. What didn't help was the crowd. The crowd really was never into this match. And, for Kofi and for Bray Wyatt, what really sells not only their character, but them as, as in-ring performers is crowd reaction. And they never really got it because there was no story. There was nothing to help build this match. This was a match that was set up on SmackDown. The go home SmackDown with a 1 week build. So, what was good, this is another thing. What was a match that basically had also spots, filled with spots. You had Cody Rhodes doing the jump into the Wyatt family. That was pretty good. And you also had Bray Wyatt doing his kind of a running not powerbomb, what do you call it, like a running, just like a cannonball right into Cody Rhodes, because he just throws himself into Cody Rhodes. That was pretty good. And then after that, he does this little how like the lady in the ring, she does that backwards crab walk, like front backwards crab walk. He does that into Cody and like scares Cody Rhodes. So that was a pretty fun thing. Like, he's a scary character. He has a lot of character to him. They just need to, use that in a story build-up. So what ended up happening next was Bray Wyatt wins with his sister Abigail, and then while he's in a corner, just maniacally laughing, the other members of the Wyatt family picks him up, slams him on his knee, then does a spinning or does like this wicked ass clothesline to Kofi Kingston. So a really good ending, just a mediocre match. And mediocre because there's no story to it and no crowd reaction to it. So what else do I want to say about this? Bray Wyatt cuts a promo at the end, and we go on to the next match, which is, I believe, CM Punk versus Ryback. And like I said, this match was one of the best builds of the short time that they had to build it. A pretty okay match. The crowd was half and half into the match. I don't think Ryback's a good character. I just think people are throwing a lot of hatred his way for idiotic reasons. People were chanting Goldberg and you can't wrestle and stuff, which is hard to give a character. I think it's the kind of wrong kind of heat. And WWE is doing a lot to make this character good. It's just that, I can tell it's not the regular fan base that's not fucking it up. It's the smarks that's fucking it up. So, this was a pretty good match. A lot of pretty okay spots here. The biggest problem of the match was the pacing. It was very slow. If they would have been a lot more quicker in this match, it would have been a lot better, and the crowd would have stayed into it. The match ends with Paul Heyman, like Ryback is fucking up CM Punk on the rope, and Paul Heyman goes for a kendo stick and tries to hit CM Punk with his kendo stick, but the ref ends up seeing it before he can even hit him. And while the ref is talking to Paul Heyman, CM Punk ends up hitting Ryback with a backwards kick, and it was an actual low blow, and that's how CM Punk ends up winning. So a pretty nice end. It was not a clean end, so they could continue, but CM Punk got a win. So that was good. So like I said, not a great match, but a good spot at the end, and an okay match for CM Punk, and I'm happy he got the win. So next was Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton for the vacant WWE Championship. And for this, I would have to say it was a pretty good match. It doesn't have the flair and the badassness that the match between Daniel Bryan and John Cena had, because people hate or love John Cena and they're gonna pop for John Cena no matter what. So and John Cena can put on a good match. He may not be a great wrestler or even a really good wrestler. He's an okay wrestler. Just he had enough build as a character to put on a really good match that people react to. So John Cena and him was a good match, a really good match. And even Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton, they hardcore match earlier this year was a good match. But you could tell that one had a lot more build. It was a Raw match too, and also the crowd was way more into that one than they was into this one. A lot of good spots here. Daniel Bryan's going to spot the shit out of a match. Do all his crazy good stuff in matches and shit like that. And Randy Orton had a few pretty good things here. The biggest problem with this match though was Randy Orton, I don't think, was maniacal enough during this match. During the build up to this pay-per-view, he was doing some maniacal stuff, and I think here he should have did more. Eye pokes and different things while the ref's back is turned and stuff like that. And he should have been really fucking with Daniel Bryan here. Just some real Viper shit. He's the apex predator. Be that. And it wasn't really. He wasn't ever fully mad here. He was just going through the motions here, and it kind of brought down the match. While Daniel Bryan was actually putting on his all through the match. Okay to good match ended, I think, pretty nice. you had Brad Maddox bring out the Big Show, and the Big Show comes in, and before Daniel Bryan can get the crossface on Randy Orton, the Big Show comes in, pulls out the ref, and throws him, and then knocks out Daniel Bryan. So Brad Maddox brings out Scott Armstrong, the ref that did the fast count on Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton, and Big Show ends up pulling him out and knocking him out. And then Big Show gets in the ring, talks, and Randy Orton talks shit to Big Show. Then Big Show knocks Randy Orton out, so Big Show's the last man standing, and the title's gonna be still vacant. I like this ending because it throws a lot of story. I was wondering, whether or not they was just going to give the title to one of the guys, or they was going to try to do something story-wise with this. And I think this was a pretty good thing to do. I saw a lot of people on Facebook reacting to this, saying, "Oh, we don't like this, and it's just going to be a vacant title for a few more weeks and stuff, and we want something else." But hopefully, this stops the crying stuff with the Big Show, and this pushes more character for all three guys. Big Show, they needed something to happen with him during this pay-per-view as well. So, as far as that match goes, it was a okay to, above average match, but with the ending, with a above average ending that hopefully was going to tell a lot more story and set up a good match for Hell in a Cell. So, as far as this pay-per-view is concerned, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been like Extreme Rules, which wasn't that great. It could have been like, a few of the pay-per-views last year, which weren't really great. I thought it was okay. The one thing I do have to say, what this pay-per-view proved to me, the WWE got a lot of good wrestlers. They just need to put some story behind these guys. Creative needs to get off their asses and put good stories behind these guys. And when they're moving stories along, they need to set up these matches for the pay-per-view that has these stories. Dolph Ziggler should have fought Dean Ambrose in this pay-per-view. The Shield should have went against the Usos. And also, they should have did something with Curtis Axel way before. They should have did stuff with Bray Wyatt way before. Those other tag teams and stuff way before. They should have had a correct build. I would give this pay-per-view a C. It's middle of the road. It's, feels like a filler, which I basically think it is. So, a filler pay-per-view, it's okay. It isn't bad, so don't let people tell you it's bad, because it was a pretty okay pay-per-view. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. It's been a long review, 28 minutes. I'm happy. Raiders, yay. And good night. Hey, find me anywhere on the internet, Big Chris, Compton Animator, anywhere, and peace, my peoples.